Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Welcome to IHIP News, where Pumps and I share our opinion about the news that is important to us. And this is just jaw-dropping, not surprising, but it's jaw-dropping what we're about to report on. And it is Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito and his wife flying an American flag in the days after January 6th, upside down. And this is a sign to Trumpers, to Trumpism, to the Stop the Steal lies and nonsense that extremist fanatics in this country subscribe to. Not somebody who's supposed to be a non-biased, objective jurist. And I think we're finding out again and again that the Supreme Court is incredibly corrupt. A few of them appear to be complete fanatics. I mean, just total fanatics. This is the guy that couldn't write the opinion overturning Roe quick enough.
Right.
He couldn't wait to dunk on all the women in the United States of America as fast as he possibly could. And he's proud of that. This guy is a fanatic, a religious nut, an unhinged Trumper that is detached from reality. So here's the juicy bits about this. So the story comes out that in the New York Times, and there's a photograph of the flagpole with the flag upside down. And somebody from Fox News, Shannon Bream, says that she had spoken directly with Justice Alito about the flag story in the New York Times. And he told her that a neighbor on their street had an F Trump sign that was within 50 feet of where children were waiting on the school bus on January 21st. The only problem with this story is the schools in Virginia on January 21st, 2020 were in lockdown because of COVID-19. So the buses weren't running because everybody was, doing school from home, or school was canceled altogether. So that's just another lie. He also claims that his wife, Martha Ann, got in a fight with the homeowner that had the sign, the F Trump sign up. And who knows if that's even true or not.
Right.
But that the homeowner called his wife a CUNT. And therefore, that's why she was like, well, I'll show him, and puts the flag upside down. So that's his story. So even his lies aren't that great. And I think at the end of the day, Sam Alito is a crazy Trumper, as is Clarence Thomas, crazy wives, crazy Trumpers, crazy Supreme Court justices. They're fanatics. And I just want to remind everybody, I remember in the 90s when Clarence Thomas was appointed or nominated for the Supreme Court. And then Anita Hill, who was a professor at the University of Oklahoma Law School at the time. And she warned everybody about this man. And the same thing happened with Brett Kavanaugh. Mm-hmm. And we just keep picking and making carve-outs and moving the goalposts for the people on the right to be able to act like they have moral superiority over everybody else, when in fact, they're fanatics, detached from reality, and they have an agenda that they want to further marginalize groups via the highest court in the land.
What I find so jaw-dropping, several things, but number one is the response to your neighbor, whether they said fuck Trump or called you a is not to fly your flag upside down and endorse election lies, particularly when you're on the highest court in the United States.
Right.
And they are making laws and right now considering whether a president has absolute presidential immunity. And you've got two guys on there, one that believes the election was stolen, tries to blame it on his wife, who he won't confirm bodily autonomy on. So he's going to allow her to run the flag up the flagpole backwards. I doubt it. I think it was a joint decision. You've got Clarence Thomas's wife, who was part of the coup that is proven by her texts uncovered by the January 6th Select Committee to Mark Meadows about Stop the Steal. So you've got two people that are perpetuating lies to destroy democracy, and they are deciding presidential immunity. I fucking have had it with that. There has got to be some type of ethical standard for Supreme Court justices, and these two would not pass muster if for nothing else, all the money they've taken from rich contributors to their lifestyle.
Right. And these people are religious fanatics.
Absolutely.
And I always beat this drum, but we talk about, breaking down what conservatism is. And what conservatism is right now is a group of religious fanatics sitting in the modern era. These people want to have a book that is highly contradictory, the Bible, to lay out a moral case for how we should behave in modern society when we have all of these things. I don't know, maybe the invention of psychology and therapy and modern medicine and modern science and genetic studies that trump everything that was written in the Bible. But these yahoos want to, attack women's rights. It's not even, if you're gay or queer or trans, forget about it.
Forget about it.
I mean, it's so scary that they have these people on the Supreme Court and that there is zero oversight. And these people, Alito, I think this, I believe, I don't have any evidence for this. I think he's a sociopath. I do. I think he has absolutely zero empathy for anyone in the world. And I think these men that are eaten up with religion so much are suffering very much from religious addiction, much like a heroin addict suffers from heroin addiction or an opiate addict suffers from opiate addiction. Their addiction to religion is dangerous to everyone around them. Unfortunately for all of us, 330 million Americans, we are around them. And so their addiction to their religion is really harming the greater good. There is no reason to have crazy religious people in charge of anything other than their church. And just as an aside, I just have a really hard time being lectured by anyone that is Catholic.
Right.
I personally have a huge problem with that. You have a religious institution with hundreds of thousands of victims of sexual abuse and rape, children, hundreds of thousands across the globe, and they covered it up. And Alito wants to talk to us about having moral superiority, and this Harrison Butker, the kicker, he wants to lecture anybody as a hardcore, crazy ass Catholic. You think you've got moral superiority and that we're all going to defer to your faith when all your priests are out there raping kids left and right and everybody's covering it up and transferring around and offering up all new victims for them? It's insane. It's literally insane that anyone that is a member of the Catholic Church has the audacity to walk out and act like they have some sort of moral high ground. It's jaw-dropping, really. Which brings me to Harrison Butker, who here he is photographed with Josh Hawley at this Stronger Men's Conference.
Of course he was.
And this was the Stronger Men's Conference last year. So these nuts were there. Craig Rochelle, the lead pastor of Life Church, was there. And it's really insidious because all of these men try to package themselves as the other megachurch pastor. See how sleekly they're dressed and they're trying to look hip and cool. And they go to these Stronger Men's prayer conferences, and it's got alpha male bullshit, and it's got monster trucks, and they try to do their hair cute, and they kind of
spray tan.
Yeah. And at the end of it is all about men being superior to women and women deferring. And Harrison Butker and Josh Hawley, I just guarantee it. There is something going on. There is something going on. There's a porn addiction. They themselves possibly could be gay. There are rumors on the internet that this guy had an affair with a male cheerleader in college and that he has gone to gay conversion therapy. And I just think anytime you have a group of men that are having to tell you how alpha they are,
Right.
they're covering up something. You know, it's kind of like the whole girl boss thing. You hear some of these women, well, I'm a girl boss. You and I run our own businesses. You're an attorney. I'm an interior designer. We have this podcast. I don't have to stampede and prance around saying I'm a girl boss. I just fucking show up and do my job. These guys have to show up and talk about how butch they are all the time,
Right.
which is just an incredible red flag. Again, the connective tissue on all of this is fanatics in religion. And I will not let Craig Groeschel off the hook because he's the one who's indoctrinated our entire state of people. And he is, in my opinion, the most insidious because he tries to be more secretive about his beliefs. But when you meet people that go to these churches, they are very pro-male,
Right.
anti-woman, anti-gay, but they think it's so sleek and they're so accepting. And that's even more insidious than this guy who overtly tells us who he is, which is disgusting. Pumps, why don't you tell us what you found in the news this weekend?
So Virginia's governor, Glenn Youngkin, has vetoed a law in Virginia that would allow a right for women to access birth control. He vetoed that while also taking millions of dollars from the anti-birth control extremist lobby group, Susan B. Anthony. Here's my thing. We're going to conferences to be strong men, and then we're making laws that will not allow contraception. We're banning abortion. That tells me that these men only can be strong if women are submissive to them, and only if women are second-class citizens to them. And we can wrap them up in pregnancy, in a poverty cycle. It is so disgusting. And we've made this point a million times, but laws against women, laws against gays, laws against Black and brown people, they all go together. It's the white male dominated culture. And that is what the MAGA extremists are. They're white supremacists, homophobics, sexist, misogynists. And I sometimes lay awake at night and I think, how are people not up in arms? How is there not a protest every day for the equality of everyone?
I think these men, I've often thought about why are they so consumed with women getting knocked up? What is that?
Right.
What is that about? And here's what I think it is, having grown up in a state that is the Bible Belt. There is so much sexual shame in religion. And when you think about how insane that is, it kind of puts the camera lens into focus. We are genetically hardwired to perpetuate the species. And how do we do that? We do that by screwing. And so religion tries to take something that is as natural to us as breathing oxygen, and that shames it and it shames it. So these boys, these men grow up thinking getting an erection is wrong, masturbating is wrong, lusting after a woman is wrong. So they have all this sexual shame, and then they start to get angry at the object of their desire. These women are tempting me, these harlots, these sluts, and they start all this slut shaming. And I think for them, it's a punitive thing. They think, number one, if a woman has kids, maybe she's less fuckable. And so there's this desire to punish the object of their desire the way the religion has punished their sex drives. Instead of openly saying, hey, it's normal to masturbate, it's normal to be attracted to women, but you have to be respectful. There's no respect taught in any of it. It's this very black and white thinking. And the end result is you have Harrison Butker, who's allegedly, probably gone to some gay conversion therapy, which is nothing short of abuses. Then he comes out and makes an ass of himself, in that speech. And, I read too that Bill Maher said he didn't understand why everybody was up in arms over Harrison Butker. And I thought, well, you know why, Bill Maher? Because you're a white guy with no kids,
right,
who nobody has ever told that you have to be a homemaker. It's like, of course, everybody is up in arms about it. Also, Bill Maher, you live in a blue state where you don't have to worry about this shit because your liberal government doesn't try to put the Ten Commandments in schoolrooms and control everybody. We live in abortion ban America. Come over, live over here a year, and then maybe you'll get back in touch with your liberal atheist roots. But until then, shut the fuck up. I've kind of had it with him, and I used to love him. But I think these men, this desire to be punitive towards women is something that's deeply embedded because they were so deeply indoctrinated to shame sex. And then women, their wives jump on board with it because they know that their husbands think the church secretary's hot or, this woman's hot. So it's like, yes, let's get them all knocked up because when they're pregnant, they look less fuckable. I seriously think it's that.
Well, I also, just in my divorce practice, there is nothing that traps a woman in a marriage like poverty and children. And so if you keep a woman having children, no access to finances, she has very little options to leave a marriage.
Right.
So, I think it's just domination and control.
And punitive. It's punitive across the board.
And it's dangerous.
It is. And meanwhile, they're getting erectile dysfunction medication. And a lot of people on the right are flirting with all of this. The governor of Virginia, which is, not that conservative of a state, he's going after birth control. And then you've got Ben Carson and other people on the right that are trying to make it more difficult to get divorced. And it's happening, and they're getting momentum, and they're getting louder and prouder. And the fact that anybody could defend what Harrison Butker said in 2024 is just wild to me. But one of my favorite things is, the Democrats tend to have all the cool people.
Right.
If there's a celebrity and they're going to sing at an inauguration, it's going to be at the Democrats. And so this is what cracks me up about Trump, because he wants to be an A-lister so bad.
Oh, he wants it so badly.
But instead, he has these buffoons.
Bottom feeders.
Yeah. One of them is Kid Rock. And Kid Rock is so mad that he's not famous anymore, right?
God, he looks like shit.
He looks like shit. He has no respect, and he's just gone full-blown MAGA cultist. And Rolling Stone interviewed him, and he just completely spirals. He drops the N-word. Yep. He drops the N-word. He says, I know where you're going with this, and I'll tell you why I don't, Rock says, because trick, the hardest hitting N-word in Detroit was like, dog, you had that shit right. We need Trump. I'll call him right fucking now. I'm telling you, these dogs are like calling me, yo, N-word. You had one right. So here you go. Here's where
I don't even
Trump
know what that means.
Finally has somebody who everybody knows, besides like Chuck Norris and who is it, that Bible thumper, Kirk Cameron.
Ice Baby.
Is Ice Baby, is he a...
Yeah, because remember at some party, they were like, well, we had Vanilla Ice. And it's like, good for you. Congratulations.
We had Beyonce. Fucking morons. But anyway, so here's just the fanatic. He's a total fanatic. And when these people get interviewed by serious people, this is what happens. That's why a lot of these far right-wingers wouldn't go to a Rolling Stone or to any sort of mainstream media to get interviewed, because they have a complete meltdown once they're outside of that vacuum. But what's more important about this is just how casually he drops the N-word. Mm-hmm. And I have seen an uptick in racism.
Absolutely.
In people on the right. They feel more emboldened to be racist. They're more verbal about it than I've ever seen in my lifetime. And I was born in 1974. And I can't imagine, if I'm seeing this in my white circles, I can't imagine what's going on in black circles when they're out in society, just living their lives. Because I have heard more racist and more homophobic bullshit and just hate messaging ever since Trump won in 2016. And it seems to be him losing in 2020 doesn't seem to have shushed it any or caused people to explore why they're racist. It seems to me like they feel way more emboldened than I've ever seen. Have you experienced this?
Absolutely. I think Trump inflamed a lot of people in misogyny, racism, and homophobia that had accepted it quietly, accepted that their views were no longer popular. But then you get a guy who is, in fact, a racist, homophobic misogynist, then they're emboldened to be loud and proud about it. And the sad part to me is there are people that are going to applaud Kid Rock for this instead of say, you're a fucking nut.
They're applauding Harrison Butker. Fox News is saying, oh, the left wing had a meltdown. And it's like, are you serious right now that this man says that women have been diabolically lied to and uses this language and encouraging women to be homemakers when women, like I think the year I was born, women couldn't have a credit card.
Right.
You know,
their husband.
And you as a divorce attorney see how vulnerable women are that are in abusive relationships. The whole right wing, the Harrison Butkers of the world, the Fox News this to me is just like probably, you know, untreated alcoholism and mental illness, Kid Rock.
He's just a clown car.
Yeah, but the Alitos, the Thomases, the Harrison Butkers, the handmaid that's on the Supreme Court, Amy Coney Barrett, the beer drinker. You know, these people are dangerous people that have a very antiquated worldview that is not inclusive of anybody unless you are a man, which is so shocking to me why Amy Coney Barrett, you know, when I see somebody that has that worldview, yet she's a career woman, the cognitive dissonance in that is so bizarre. But that's another
IHIP news
entirely. But anyway, this Justice Alito and Clarence Thomas and Amy Coney Barrett and the beer drinker Brett Kavanaugh, and it just pisses me off. It pisses me off so bad that Trump got 3 Supreme Court picks when that fucker didn't even win the popular votes. You have a minority Supreme Court hanging their flags upside down, whose wife is another one, Jenny Thomas, texting Mark Meadows to try to stage a coup d'etat. It is fucking chaos. It is Looney Tunes. These people are racist, homophobic, misogynist, and the whole psychological breakdown of Clarence Thomas and his wife, I'll leave for the psychologist, but that is a really interesting case study, considering that he's Black and she's white, and they appear to want to outlaw interracial marriage. But that's, again, I'll leave that to the people who study this stuff. I'll leave it at, I just think they're stage 5 fucked up.
The sad part is women and other marginalized groups are suffering because of the Supreme Court and Trump's picks because they are unethical and immoral.
They are. All right. Stick with us for more hot takes. Really uplifting segment today.
Right.
Have a great week, everyone.
It's so